Hello and welcome to the podcast. Today I have Nicole Meline, who is literally one of my favorite podcasters. I don't even know if she knows this. I actually reached out to her years ago and was so excited about her podcast when I found it. If you listen to music, I think of like a Trevor Hall. When I listen to Trevor Hall, it like gets me into my heart and into my body, and I feel poetic. And that's how Nicole Meline podcasts. And it just connects me so deeply to kind of like my inner poet and my inner I don't know, it's just such a beautiful way of podcasting. It's so well thought out, and the voice and the music she puts through it and the poetic message. So everybody needs to check out her podcast. But she also does she has all of these offerings. She's a coach, a life coach, a wellness coach. She teaches different workouts that combine not only working out and moving your body, but actually connecting deeper and asking the bigger questions. I actually feel like I need to work out with it. She also has made the Envision planner, which she was kind enough to send me. It's such a beautiful planner, and it's been something that I've really sat down and gotten into my body and really made me ask questions that I hadn't asked myself before. Um, and it is just a beautiful, beautiful way to guide your life. So she has so many wonderful tools out there for everyone. I can't wait to introduce you. I am going to drop in because Nicole was kind enough to let me see her chart. And so I did a little bit of a reading for her for human design and astrology. And she actually hadn't really connected to human design before, mostly because she's a projector. And anybody that starts getting into human design and can look at some of the projector stuff, sometimes it's a little bit limiting, and it can feel like, oh, I have to wait around and I don't have my own kind of power, and that doesn't feel good. And I don't believe that that's the projector whatsoever. It's just that little tiny shift in perspective of being invited for your knowledge, being invited for the power, and you go about your day, but the people that are really here for you are gonna be like, "Oh, I want to know more," and then they're engaged, and then you're giving them this beautiful, beautiful wisdom. She's also a triple split, so we might talk about that a little bit. I love the triple split so much, and I always call myself the triple split whisperer because I have a family member that is a triple split, and I was like, man, I don't know about this triple split. And then I got every single triple split out there, I swear, because I don't know if there's that many out there. And I had to learn so deeply, like the beauty and the mechanics and what a triple split is really here for. And it just opened my eyes up so much that I love triple splits. And she's a 6'2", so the role model. She is the cross of revolution, which we are going to talk about because it's really not allowing the status quo, right? And there's times in your life as a cross of revolution where you might have kind of gone along with the status quo or tried to fit in. But it's really here to kind of stand out and change the status quo for whatever you're into. In astrology, Nicole is a Virgo rising. She has that beautiful Gemini moon, which is why she's so good with words, and has 4 master's degrees, I think I saw, or 4 higher degrees. Loving knowledge and learning. And then she has that Leo sun, which actually you have 4 planets in Leo, which is a really heart-centered place to be, is that Leo energy just kind of shines the sunlight on all of us, which is what you do. So welcome to the podcast, Nicole.
What a welcome. Thank you so much. And thanks for your sweet words about my altar podcast. When I started it, I had only heard, I think I started it about 5 years ago, and I had only heard maybe 1 or 2 other podcasts that were doing anything similar, kind of like weaving together music and poetry. And it was like the radio show that I wished existed. That was my goal in doing it. And so, of course, it's evolved over the years, but thank you so much. That this conversation is such a example of a principle that I really have learned to live by, especially in business. And I'm just thinking right now about how much it fits into the projector kind of persona, which, as you and I had talked about, at first I felt this like resistance to human design. I just didn't feel a resonance with human design when I saw my chart breakdown because of the way that a projector can kind of be maybe mischaracterized. But I'm just thinking right now, there's this principle that your heart's work draws your heart's people. And that feels like it very much aligns. Like this conversation is a beautiful example of that, of I just put this podcast out into the world and I had this faith that, okay, I'm going to do this in sort of a weird way, but I have this faith that the right people are going to find it.
Yeah.
And I say that I tell that story in part because that's really an encouragement to all of our listeners too, is whatever project that you have in mind or whatever weird take on what you've seen done. And especially if you wrestle with, I don't know if I should do this thing. So many other people are doing it, right? But you haven't done it yet. You haven't done it in your way. And so when we do that, when we take that brave step, we actually get the opportunity to have these beautiful connections like you and I are sharing today. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. This is a moment, because that was one of the first podcasts that I was like, this is it, right? This is, and it was so funny because now I think about it, because I would send it to everybody and
Oh,
most people would
thank
just
you.
be like, yeah, they liked like the crime podcast or
Right.
and
Yeah,
here
it's
I
not
am,
that.
like my soul is being, nourished through this. Listen to this. And everybody's just kind of like, I'm like, what? So yeah, that is that's something that I remind myself as well. It's like the right people that are attracted to what I want, because sometimes we can even get into trying to make art or create things for like the mass audience, or I mean, I get in my head and I'm like, oh, what would the people around me want to hear? And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
no, I don't. I'm not trying to attract the people around me. I'm trying to attract kind of the people that are feeling alone, that are like me, that need this kind of connection in these conversations, and to bring, beautiful people like you to them, or to that conversation, to open up a new way of seeing the world.
Yeah, and that is the beauty of this technology that we have now, that is, I mean, all of it is in really its infancy, but this new emerging digital age where sure there's obviously all kinds of negatives and cautions that we need to have in terms of how can we engage these technologies and really retain our humanness and our soul. But the other side of it is I believe you really can build true, rich, deep community with people all over the world, and that you're not maybe limited to the world that, the community that you are functioning in just in your everyday life. Is you might look around and find that there aren't that many people who resonate with what really moves your soul, but now you can start to put that out there in your way in the world, and it'll attract this community to it.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a beautiful thing right now. I've got a lot of transits going through my ninth house, which is supposed to be like world travel and expanding your horizons. And here I am with two kids that are like in all of these sports. And I'm just kind of, shackled to the house a little bit, but I'm connecting with people from all over the world all the time. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
this is amazing. You don't have to limit yourself, right? Like, is it, once you take that step forward and open yourself up, the right people will appear.
So
I
true.
really want to just learn a little bit about you, because I know your beautiful heart and your art and the things that you do creatively, and we can talk about some things, but I don't know, like, how did you even get into what you're doing? Like, did you grow up in like an ashram or some beautiful yoga family, or is this something that you had to kind of find on your own?
It's funny. I did grow up in its own sort of ashram, I guess. I would never have called it that. But I grew up in a pretty uh passionate, I would say, first of all, passionately spiritual, um, conservative evangelical community in Southern California. And I grew up in this church that was really my whole life in terms of I went to the school there and we were super involved. And I've gone through a, complex, layered spiritual evolution of my own, including a chapter in seminary where I really kind of started to question what my relationship was toward the particular tradition that I had grown up in. Yoga came into my life right around that same time. And that was this invitation into, many different traditions of spirituality that I had been taught to fear or judge. And it took years to, I think, find the courage to, and the words and the community, which is a huge part of it, to be able to articulate these questions that I was so scared of asking, right? So, but I bring that all up to say that I always did have this very deep spiritual life. And I would say that God has been the greatest romance of my life. It's been this steady, my spiritual life has been this steady practice and presence, but that it definitely has gone through all kinds of all kinds of chapters of dark nights of the soul, of questioning and leaving one tradition and moving toward another and kind of feeling like I maybe didn't belong in either. And what does it mean? I think a central question of my life and in the work that I do with folks too is what does it mean to become a spirited leader? I love that phrase, a spirited leader. So someone who is very much in connection to their spiritual life, that has a consistent spiritual practice, and who sees the work of leadership as igniting that in others. So, this kind of idea of being a midwife of the soul or a doula of the soul, a doula of what is helping others to discern, like what is happening in your spirit, where is spirit, the great spirit inviting you and interacting with you and wanting to collaborate with you. So yeah, I think it's been a consistent and complex thread in my story.
I think that is so beautiful. You have uh Neptune or Pisces on the seventh house, which is who do I partner with? And Neptune is like the higher octave of Venus love, and it
Mm.
always feels like heaven or like the ethereal, the divine, that kind of feeling. And so I thought that was really beautiful how you brought that up. And I want to know how do you navigate though, because you are this projector, that part of your energy is, when we talk about a triple split in human design, it's like you've got this really beautiful brain that's like, it loves facts and it wants to kind of categorize things and it wants to like grab the, like what's true, what's not true. And then you have this kind of artist, let me create. I mean, you can just listen to your podcast, go to your website and read your website. Like everything is poetic, your Envision planner, but it's this real artist's voice, right? And then you have this deep need to have like a tribe and a community,
Mm.
but they're all separate, right? They don't quite connect. And I mean, you talked about, and maybe we can weave in like how you feel connected when you're on your bike or when you're moving your body. But you also have the kind of ruler, the chart ruler in a place you can't see. So I can just imagine that it's never really quite clear, right? Like the direction is never quite clear, and things will come out of nowhere and you have to kind of move on your feet. And it's like, how do you navigate that? How do you take steps when you don't know exactly where you're going? How do you navigate? How have you, tools have you learned? Like, how have you worked with this?
It resonates so much with exactly where I am at this moment in my life right now, where I can feel this, I can feel I can feel big transitions coming a big transition coming that I think has many elements to it, a geographic, vocational, a relational, right? I can kind of feel myself on the cusp. And I also have, it's this interesting moment where in the past, I think that I would really feel compelled to take action as soon as possible to get the ball rolling. And I have some kind of a sense of direction, a sense of where I think I'd like to go, at least geographically. But it's funny, maybe this is my projectorness or something. I really feel this sense of, hang on, let's let this unfold. And I think that for me, whenever I do have an invitation, like some sort of an invitation in my life towards something, it often feels like this is a language that God speaks to me. This is a way that spirit, kind of like leaves the breadcrumbs. So I
Mhm.
feel that sense of I'm on my path. And it's on we were talking a little bit about a minute ago about my bio on my website. And this is really kind of the heart of what I am exploring in general in Alter, the platform that I offer, but also in the Alter podcast, which is navigating the dance between hustle and flow. That's one way of putting it. Another way of putting it is what is navigating the dance between our own effort and flow, spirit, the the swerves that our life takes that we can't control, right? And as I'm on the cusp of this transition right now, I really want to strike that balance between, yet, like, sure, I could effort my way into the change that I'm envisioning, fine, and I could get there. But I don't know that I would have this certainty of I am exactly where I am meant to be. I'm exactly where, the paths of my life have aligned upon. So I want there to be a balance of hustle and flow. I want there to be a balance of my intentionality and my planning and a little bit of magic, a little bit of spirit, a little bit of, the unexpected and community, so that I'm not just doing this on my own. I want to be doing it in community with this community that I'm moving into. So I know I'm talking all these vague terms, but I'm trying to kind of connect with what you're saying in exactly the moment that I'm feeling it right now, which is very intense.
I I love that though, and that's what I keep seeing over and over. And maybe because you have this Gemini moon, and Gemini is very dualistic, right? The
Mm,
Gemini, it loves to connect, it loves knowledge, it loves to just learn and learn and learn. But Gemini can hold two things as true at the same time, right?
mm.
It could be very dualistic, and I have a lot of Gemini in my chart, and so I feel this all the time, right? I read a book on manifestation and I'm like, well, where's the balance between what I want to manifest and what I actually have to do? And then you hear, I've been listening to Ed Milet a lot, and Ed Milet
Mm.
is just this hard charger. I love his open heart, so I listen to him,
Yes,
but
he does have that beautiful balance. Yeah.
he is just this big man that's like, let's go. But then he talks from his heart and it's so beautiful.
Mhm.
But he's, you gotta get up and you gotta hustle and you've gotta grind and you gotta do it every day, and part of me is like, "Do I?" Like
Right,
like,
right.
where is the balance between, "Okay, I know I have to take steps in the right direction, but I also what if I'm not feeling that direction," right? Like,
Mhm.
right now, I've just been in this I mean, everything feels like it's crumbling, and I can see it in my chart. It's just a rough time, right? It's just like
Mm.
everything feels hard, everything feels heavy. There's no direction, a lot of Neptunian, fog. And I'm just like, oh, but you have to, you have to do the things. You have to do the things. And like, where's the balance? That's what I'm playing with right now a lot.
Yeah, and sometimes that structure really is what saves us. Like there's a phrase, a mantra that I, have really brought into my heart, which is what we practice, we become. What we
Yeah.
practice, we become. And so there really is something too. There's this concept, the Sanskrit word for it is a sadhana, which is a period of time set apart to a transformational practice. So that could be something like a retreat, that you might go on for 5 days, or 15 days or 30 days, 40 days that you're setting apart to this one practice. You're going to do this thing for 40 days because it's about you're curious about who are you going to be on the other side of that, because you know this practice will be transformative.
Yeah.
And often when we are in those times of like the fog, and I so connect with exactly how you're characterizing that. I'm in a bit of it myself right now. And those, we can think of it too in terms of like the masculine and the feminine, the the structure and the flow, right? So the structure actually can really save us and strengthen us through those times of fog. But we can become so structured that we're rigid, right? And we're not allowing for flow. We're also not, especially maybe as women, honoring the secularity of our life, the cycles that we live in, and the cycles of energy. So it's a lifelong dance, and it changes season to season, right? Some seasons of our life are going to have more hustle, and some seasons are going to have more flow. And I think it really is the art of living to discern and navigate, okay, where am I? What do I really need at this moment? What do I need? Do I need more structure? Do I need more flow? And what does it look like to find that balance at this moment?
Yeah. Yeah. Your planner is actually really saving me right now because I I always I was in the military and I always was like kind of active, an active person, and I had these kids and my health kind of declined, and then I got back,
Mm.
and then just recently, what, 2020, I just kind of threw it all out, right? I'm like, I'm not obsessing about health anymore. I'm not obsessing about health. I'm just going to focus on my mindset. And I did
Mm.
all of the Joe Dispenza and, all of that kind of work. But it's like the body, the strength that I want to feel in my body has not come back. And this Christmas, it went to like, ooh, I don't know, something's wrong, right? So I signed
Mm.
up with this naturopath and found out I have Lyme and all these co-infections, and I'm working through it, right? But so I've been in this story of you just have to, relax or whatever, and be patient. Well, and it was winter,
Yep.
but I got your planner and I'm like, what do I want to do? What do I want to, and I'm like reading through, and I love, so your planner is a 3 month. So it's like, what do you want to accomplish in 3 months? Which is better for me because sometimes people ask me 5 years. And I'm like, I will be a completely different person in 5 years.
Right.
But 3 months, right? Like, what do I want to
Yeah.
accomplish in 3 months? And I love going through the exercises and asking myself things that I didn't even think about. Like you have community in there, you have there's just all these different things. And then when you go through, and it doesn't matter when you started it's good for any time, right? You don't have to, it's not like 2021 only, like it's good
Yeah.
for any
You could start it
time.
whenever. Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought I wanted to start it on a new moon just because it's
Nice.
like, kind of setting
Yeah.
intentions and things like that. But you have like vision, space for to kind of envision your day, your gratitude, who you meet today. I love thinking about that. Like, who do I want to meet today? Should I hop on a group thing and see if I could, invite somebody to a coffee date or something to meet somebody, right? Like, it just gets you thinking. And it's like something that you can do every single morning to kind of invite more magic into your life.
Mm. I'm going to
What
quote you
moved
on
you?
that.
How do you want to move? And so it's like, so I started doing, I was like, okay, well, I'm very out of shape right now. So I'm going to just invite in like a Kundalini yoga. So I can do some
Mm.
breath work, and it's mostly sitting, but I'm kind of cleansing, right? I'm going to cleanse the
Mm.
breath and get some energy moving in my body. So I've been doing that. And so I sit and I'm like, okay, is that still what I want to do? But that's what I love about the planner. Like I can flow with it, right? I could say, this is what I want to do today, but at least I'm writing it down and making a plan,
I
because I'm
love
not very
that.
good at that. I love that you're Virgo rising and you're, projector. The projector's really good at systems and helping us like
Mhm.
find the tool and point to the system and, like direct us a little bit. I always think of the
Mhm.
projector as the director of the, if we thought of a movie, the manifester would be the producer that just like started the process and then gets out of there. And then the projector's the director, making sure everybody's doing their part and where they've got to be. And so your projectorness is like kind of helping us guide into this. And then
Mm.
you're this Virgo rising that really is good at kind of, okay, let's have an idea, but let's make it real. Because it's an earth mind, it's not just
An
like,
earth mind.
yeah. And yeah, and it's like, what do I want to create today? Right?
Yeah. Thank you so much for all that great feedback about it. I actually have mine in hand too. I've been taking notes in it while we've been talking. Um, but I created it because I couldn't find, it's called the Envision Planner. I couldn't find a planner that came from this kind of mindset that was really wanting to honor flow as much as hustle, right? So of course we've all seen the intense planners, day planners that are like
I buy them all the
15.
time and I
Oh
never use
yeah, and
them.
a part of me loves them, but it can create this mentality that's so focused on productivity and goals. And when you go through a big unexpected season like an injury or an illness or whatever that just can throw you so off course, it's like, how do we re-engage life from this place of grace? But yeah, we're still here to create things. We're still here to get things done. And in the first part of it, the first kind of third of it has these pages where I think about the different spheres of our lives, which you, and as an astrologist, I think would be really interested in: body, spirit, mind, community, et cetera, et cetera. And setting goals for those that are doable, and that, yes, it is something in 90 days that you can, or even 30 days that you can
Yeah.
do, that you can practice your way into. But even thinking like on the page about body, I'm asking both, what goals or races or straight up joy do you want to train for, right? So how do you want to embody yourself fully? So I'm trying to ask questions that are, yes, they're about setting specific goals, but also the spiritual goals, the soulful goals. How do you want to engage this work, this project, this whatever it is that you're setting out for yourself?
Yeah, I love it. I was so excited. Just like unboxing it, it's beautiful.
Oh,
Everything you
thank
do is
you.
just beautiful, but I was just very excited that it was meeting me where I was, right? It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't
Mm-hmm.
overwhelming. Sometimes I'll buy the planner and I feel like I have to write down, every single week what, like I have to have it all planned out. And I'm not very good at that, but this is something I just do in the morning, right?
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
starts my morning off being intentional, which it's very funny because I go back and forth all the time. I'll be very intentional. I'm like, wow, how much can I get done when I'm intentional and how much
Mm-hmm.
magic happens? And then I'll, kind of throw that routine out. And pretty soon I'm having my coffee and reading a book every morning and my morning's gone. And now I'm walking and now I'm, I'm like,
Yeah, the day just kind of
Where
slips
did my
away.
day go? So I
Mm-hmm.
love that it's like a way to be so intentional. And I love that you saw a need,
Mm.
something I mean, that's what you did with the podcast. That's what you did with the planner. Is that kind of what you've done with your workout? Talk about your, because you have on your website Alter Together where people can come and like work out with you. Tell me about your journey through this because you've worked for different like Soul Cycle and so or Peloton, different workout venue, but you've created your own. What inspired you to do that?
Yeah, I think that first of all, it feels important to say I didn't think of myself as an athlete growing up. I thought of myself as a nerd. I was always, like tucked away somewhere with a book. And so I wouldn't have, and I went through all the things that teenage girls go through with their relationship to their body. And I think that I did start swimming right around that time. And that was a real help, in terms of connecting me to my strength. And but I still didn't think of myself as an athlete. I think swimming also wasn't kind of like a typical sport. And when I went to college, maybe about 2 years in, I started running just around the perimeter of USC, in part because it was like something I could do at any time of day. I didn't need a gym. I could just throw on my shoes and just go. And little by little, and then I started, and I think it was maybe 2-ish miles around the campus. And then so I do one loop and then I get curious about how, like, could I do two? Right. And then that became marathon training. And so fitness had become this kind of, I guess, mostly like a spiritual mental outlet for me. And this place, I wouldn't have really put it this way then, but this way of remembering my own strength. And so, especially, I was pre-med student in college, and I really struggled the first, like, pre-med in English, which has kind of been the dual tracks of my life ever since, medicine and science and literature and words. And I really struggled the first couple of years to figure out like what it took for me to succeed in these classes. And so there was a lot of defeat, and just simply going for a run would remind me of my strength. But then also, oh, it's sending all this blood to my brain. I'm flooding my body with endorphins. I'm changing the entire chemistry of my body. So, of course, we think more expansively and imaginatively when we're moving our bodies. We're resetting our entire nervous system. And so that's continued to be a principle for me. I went to seminary after college, and then I ended up going to graduate school in literature in New York. I moved to New York right around, I was just about 30. And fitness was always this side job for me. And I thought I was going to be a professor or a preacher, something in between that. And right around the same time, as I had started to teach at boutique fitness studios in New York that were just starting to emerge, right? This was kind of an emerging industry, and Peloton was starting at that time. And so I started with Peloton, and maybe 6 months in or so, and it was an experiment. Like, we didn't really know if this thing was going to take off. I just kind of realized, wow, wait a minute. I'm doing all the things and more that I love and kind of imagined my giftings in this weird container, in this weird form that I wouldn't have really expected or taken seriously. I love this. Like, this is my work. I'm going to take it seriously. So I ended up going on leave from my PhD program and ultimately dropping out. And since then, about 3 years into Peloton, I started my own platform, my own entrepreneurial journey. And so, which I've been at for about 7 years. And fitness, both movement and mindfulness, movement and meditation, stillness, breath, have been central to how I teach and I lead. Even I now do courses, I do one-on-one work with people, I lead retreats. But this has still been this through line because of what I just said about how when we move our bodies, first of all, we take ourselves out, and this is part of how I teach, is to take ourselves out of productivity, goal-driven, linear movement and into this kind of playfulness. Like, we are embodying play. We're remembering what it was like to be a kid. We are reconnecting with where our body is now. And we're actually giving ourselves an opportunity to process the emotions that we've maybe been suppressing or unaware of. Of course, music is this incredible ally in this as well, right? So I find I want to get myself moving, and then I want to get myself into stillness, and I want to get anyone that I'm working with moving and then into stillness, and then we really do the heart work. That, for me, I always think of it as breath and sweat as doorways to the heart. So that's really kind of the foundational vision of my platform, Alter Together, is I want to get you as strong as you can possibly get, but I want to get there through the heart, through the soul, not through, and I am really teaching in a different way, I think, from a lot of what's out there, in terms of, I don't want to come from, I want to have that curiosity of how strong can we get, but that's rooted in that love for our bodies and curiosity, rather than I need to punish myself for this or that. I need to burn off last night's dinner, dessert, whatever. It's how can we love our bodies into our strength is really the mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we both have Venus and Leo, which is really about self-love, right? So I love what
Yeah.
you talk about with weighty and some of the different things that you've talked about on your podcast that people can go back and listen to. But it really is about self-love. It's not about deprivation. It's not about you know, yeah, working so hard. It's like, how do we get in our body and love our body where it's at? And I think that's an amazing message. And as women, I mean, even if we
Hmm.
study the science, women, if they're like starving themselves and working out, they can actually hold on to weight and not
Yes. Yeah.
not actually be able to lose weight. And they're like
Oh
working
yeah.
so
So
hard.
so much of the ways that we train actually can shift our bodies into a stress response, right? So driving up our cortisol and creating an environment in our bodies where we're actually our bodies are like just like what you're saying, holding on to fat. We're not digesting in the most efficient way because we're in this kind of like sympathetic nervous system response in
Yeah.
a long-term state of stress. So it's a dance again. It's this dance between hustle and flow, intention, challenging yourself. And that gets more important, especially for women as we age, strength training and making sure that we're doing interval training. So we're putting our bodies through intentional, but very uh, kind of titrated moments of stress, right? So it's a short-term stressor so that we can rev up our metabolism and our ability to respond to stress, but we don't want to stay in stress. And
Yeah. Well,
so
then
it's
you go
a
into the
yeah.
still heart where you feel safe so your
Mhm.
body can then
Yes.
process it, right?
Yes.
Oh, that is
Rest and
so beautiful.
digest.
I cannot believe how fast the time is going. I love this conversation. You might have to come back on because there's so many
I would
different
love
things.
that. Yeah. I know.
So
We're
many
just
things.
we're just getting started.
Yes. But just tell everybody a little bit about how they can learn more about you. I'll put everything in the show notes, but just kind of what you're offering right now, like what's going on that you're really excited about or the best way to connect with you.
Oh, thank you so much. My home base is NicoleMeline.com. That's my website. And I'm on Instagram also at Nicole Meline. I'm on Facebook if you're still there at Nicole Joy Meline. And what I'm really excited about right now is this new program that I really intentionally wanted to accessibly price and make it especially friendly toward anyone who's kind of a beginner or a re-beginner called my Ignite 7-day reset. So that's an introduction to my Alter Together platform and also to just other offerings that I offer as well. So that's a beautiful place to start. You can find that at nicolemeline.com/ignite. And you can also join my newsletter there and explore retreats or one on one coaching, mentorship, the courses that I offer. And if you want to deep dive into the Alter Together platform for movement and meditation, that's a beautiful place to start too. You can find that at nicolemeline.com/alter. But it's my passion to, again, connect each of us to what spirit is doing in our lives, however it is that you experience and define that. So I think all of us can agree what is love up to in your life? Where is your heart leading you or how you experience your higher power? Where is that guidance? Where is there evidence of invitation and guidance in your life, especially if you're facing a new chapter, a transition, an unexpected transition, a disappointment that's asking you to reinvent in some way? Those are just like the juiciest moments of spiritual growth that we encounter. So I love navigating and walking with folks through those.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, everybody check her out. Go back, listen to her podcasts. You can find her on Spotify. She has all my favorite playlists that I
And
listen to.
Apple
And
Podcasts.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and Apple, yeah.
Oh yeah, but lots of podcast or lots of playlists on
Music,
Spotify.
yeah, all your music playlists are so beautiful and always get me into my heart. So,
Mm.
so it was so wonderful to connect with you. I can't wait to share this conversation and maybe continue this conversation in another time.
Angela, you are such a delight. And thank you for your work. You are truly a navigator. Thank you. I like I had shared earlier, I had not really connected with human design. I was just like, maybe that's not for me. I don't know. It doesn't really resonate. And the way that you walked me through my chart was so powerful and revelatory. And I'm still unpacking it and seeing things through different lenses since that conversation. So anyone who has thought about working with Angela, do it.
Thank you so much. You have a wonderful rest of your day. And yeah, let's just keep evolving on purpose, right?
Amen. I love that. Yes.